when the whites of your eyes come through, you'll see something new. With your body and mind restored, it's good to see you back home. When the life in your eyes once blind, things return. You've come back with your body and mind restored. It's good to see you once more.
Chapter 33, Damaged Beyond Repair. You guys excited for the confrontation? It's gonna happen. It is for him and through him at the same time that I am suffering. In vain do I try to escape. He follows me, he is there, he haunts me constantly. His eyes express only hatred and scorn, his mouth utters nothing but insult and reproach. His arms embrace me only to tear me to shreds. Who can save me from this barbarous fury? Colderos de localos, dangerous liations. Could have just fucking read that in English. I see what you did there. Why did you put that in Spanish? Or is that book in Spanish? Who the fuck knew? Okay, anyways. Like, who knew? I learned something today. SsjDeBusk de lactos. Liations. Lactos. That's dope. Lactos. Sorry. 3 years of Spanish and I am fucking fail at that language. I don't remember anything except for bolígrafo. And they don't even use bolígrafo. I like it, they're like pen. And it's just like, oh. They're like, we don't really use that word. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't use it? And they're like, no one uses the word bolígrafo. It's like really, really ridiculous and no one uses it. And I'm like, oh, what do you guys use? And they're like, pen. And I'm like, oh, how exotic. I fall to the stone floor, grazing my hands and knees as they take the brunt of my fall. I look up. No, I can't. I keep my eyes on my hands, on the fingers sprawled across the stone. My gaze lingers on the white, wrinkly burn scars that are on the back of my left hand. Breathe. I gotta keep breathing. It's hard to keep breathing. Listen. Quiet breathing. I'm not my own, coming from the other side of the room. I close my eyes. Deep breath. In and out. Okay. I can do this. No, I can't. I can't. No, I can. I have to. He deserves an explanation, if nothing else. Slowly, so slowly, I push myself up to my feet. Am I recording this? Damn straight I am, okay. I pull myself to my feet. Every muscle, every fiber of my being screams in protest, but somehow, God knows how, I manage to stand up. Okay, now, raise your head. Easy enough just to raise my head, surely. He's not looking at me. The longest of silences spread out, before he takes a deep breath, one that heaves his shoulders. No wonder you didn't want me to go pensive. He mutters. I bite down my lip, hard. It's not what it looks like. I say, almost cringing as I say the words. Stupid. I've never been good at lying. He turns around then. His face is still wet with tears, but his eyes are hardening, blazing with fury. Then what is going on, Hermione? Because from what I've seen, it looks like a fucking Lucius Malfoy. He starts to walk over to me, his voice raising. But that can't be, can it? Not after you tell me. Not when you tell me there's nothing going on. His voice rises and rises, building up with shouts of naked anger. You told me so many times that there was nothing going on, over and over again. He pauses. You look me straight in the eye and you lied to me. Because all this time, you've been letting Lucy's fucking Malfoy fuck you. I backed myself against the wall, almost sobbing. Please don't shout, Ron. You need to understand. How could I understand? He shouts. How can you even think about it? Don't you know what he is? Of course I do. I say urgently. You know what he puts me through, Ron. Of course I know what he is. Then how can you bear it? He yells, almost enraged with anger. He's a monster! A murderer! A bigot! For God's sake, Hermione, he killed your parents! I know! I gasp in desperation. I know! I can't ever forget it! He looks at me so incredulously before he turns, walking away from me, pacing around the room. I don't understand. He says, How can you even... He's old enough to be your father. He brings his hand... I love how that's like the least big issue. This pretty big issue. His age difference. And it's like, no, it's not even on the list. Not even on the list. It's like being married. Like, that's not even on the list. Just like, whatever. Narcissism, Malfoy. He brings his hand up to his face, clenching at it. I feel my heart rip in half into quarters, and I cry harder than I've cried since the night my parents' death. Because, oh God, I've destroyed him today. I know that I have. Perhaps if I could just reach... He shakes his hand away my hand, lashing out at me, turning to me with absolute hatred. Don't touch me! He hisses. You're a bloody traitor, Hermione! I don't want you to touch me! And no slap that Lucius has ever given me, no Cruciatus curse I've ever endured hurts as much as those words do. I cover my mouth with my hand and try not to stop the flesh torrent of sobs that burst out of me. His own eyes brighten as he turns away from me. Listen, please. You just need to listen. Why? He asks, his voice pulsing with fury as he turns back to face me. Why should I listen to anything you have to say? I force myself to carry on. Because you've got to understand, I whisper, tears streaming down my face. You need to know why. Because, please, just listen to me. And after I'm finished, you can hate me. You can cut me out of your life forever. You just need to know why I'm doing this. He glares at me for a few moments before he nods curtly, although he looks very much as if he's forcing himself to keep from shouting at me. I take a deep breath, trying to state out the jumble and mess in my brain right now. I need to get things clear so that I can explain it to him. But how can I if I don't even really understand it myself? The beginning. Go back to the beginning. I breathe, and I begin. When I was first captured... God, it's so hard to remember what happened so long ago now. Okay, how much detail do I need to put this in? Do I need to tell him how he carried me through the woods? How he forced me to splice up with my own leg? How he wouldn't look at me in the eye after he tortured me? No, start again. When I was first captured, he tortured me for hours and hours on end. My voice is a thread. He needed to to give me answers. He needed me to give him answers, and he was relentless in retrieving them from me. Ron looks very much as if he wants to say something, but he doesn't. And so I carry on. I asked him, begged him over and over again to stop, but he wouldn't. He has a job to do. And he said that as a mudblood, I had no right to expect any leniency from him. Although occasionally, I pause for a moment, forcing myself to go on. He needs to know. He deserves to know. Occasionally I thought I could see something in his eyes when I asked him to stop. Lucius snorts. Ron snorts in bitter disbelief. Probably turned him on, he mutters. Probably gets off with kicking. He gets his kicks from torturing young girls until they beg and scream for mercy. No! I say desperately. Ron, no. You've got to listen. It wasn't like that. It was like he felt sorry for me, almost. He exhales sharply, folding his arm, looking at me stonily. So what was it that led you? So what was it? So what was it that led to what I just saw then? He asked. What was it that made everything change? Did he tell you he'd stop if you fucked him? Is that it? I wouldn't put it past him. No! I say. Although, to lie about that would probably make everything so much easier. No. Not like that. That's not it. Please just listen. I know that he didn't think of me in that way. Not at first, anyways. I feel my face burning up, but I stumble on, because I know because when Bellatrix and Dolohov joined him to torture me, Bellatrix tried to get him to take my clothes off. But he wouldn't. He said that he would make him feel sick even to think about it. But with me being a mudblood and everything. Don't. He says quietly. Don't call yourself that. Don't call yourself that. A long silence stretched out between us. I'm trying not to make him sound like Lucius, so hardcore. I'm like trying to put, I don't even know. Trying to put something else in there. I don't know. Mercy. That's the word I was looking for. Trying to put mercy into his words. There's we go. A long silence stretches out between us, and then looks at the floor. But I cling on to the fact that he doesn't hate me enough to call me a mudblood, not like Lucius. He hates me so much he doesn't care how much he uses that word for me. Go on then, he says, his voice tight. I draw in a breath. When we got here, things changed. I managed to get a hold of a knife when we first arrived, and I stabbed him with it. Doesn't say anything. I would have expected him to react before now, but he's been overshadowed by everything else. He doesn't even look at me. Everything changed after that, I whisper. That's why he locked me in the cellar. He wanted to punish me for what I'd done. I pause. Because this is where things stop making sense, even for me. I don't know when things changed. He was just with me all the time. For God's sakes, how can I explain this to him?